Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiv Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayantire Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 20, Lord Vishnu's appearance in the sacrificial arena of Maharaj Prithu. So like we were discussing, Lord Vishnu appeared in the sacrificial arena when Prithu Maharaj was advised not to pursue with his 100th yajna. And then Lord Vishnu is giving him some instructions. So far he was talking about that those in the bodily, you are not in the bodily concept of life, so why you are so worried about completing the yajnas. Samanotam adhyamadhama sukhe cha dukhe cha jitendriyashaya mayopaklapti khillok samyito Vidhatsva Vira Khil Lok Rakshanam. My dear heroic king, please keep yourself always equipoised and treat people equally, whether they are greater than you in the intermediate stage or lower than you. Do not be disturbed by temporary distress or happiness. Fully control your mind and the senses. In this transcendental position, try to execute your duty as king in whatever condition of life you may be posted by my arrangement. For your only duty here is to give protection to the citizens of your kingdom. Here is an example of receiving direct instruction from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu. One has to execute the order of Lord Vishnu, whether receiving it directly from him or from his bona fide representative, the spiritual master. Arjuna fought the battle of Kurukshetra under the direct order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Similarly, here Prithu Maharaj is also being given orders by Lord Vishnu regarding the execution of his duty. We have to stick to the principles stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Vyavasayatmika Buddhi. Every man's duty is to receive orders from Lord Krishna or from his bona fide representative and take these orders as his life and soul, without personal considerations. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur states that one should not care very much whether he is going to be liberated or not, but he should simply execute the direct order received from the spiritual master. If one sticks to the principle of abiding by the order of the spiritual master, he will always remain in a liberated position. A common man must execute the rules and regulations of Varnashram Dharma by working in his prescribed duties. According to the caste system, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, and the spiritual order system, Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanprastha, and Sannyas. If one simply executes regularly and strictly the injunctions given for the different divisions of life, then one satisfies Lord Vishnu. So basically the purpose of human life is to satisfy Lord Vishnu. And that can be done by following the orders given by the Lord or his bona fide representative. So Srila Prabhupada has given us clear-cut instructions. Chant 16 rounds every day. Follow the 4 regulative principles. Read my books daily. Preach. Serve the Lord. So if we just do that, then we don't need to even worry about whether we are liberated or not. We will be taken care of by Prabhupada. As a king, Prithu Maharaj was ordered by Lord Vishnu to keep himself always aloof from the activities of the bodily situation and to engage always in the service of the Lord and thus keep himself in the liberated stage. The word Baddha Suhrida is in the previous verse is explained herewith. One can fully remain in intimate connection with the Supreme Lord directly or receive orders from his bona fide representative, the spiritual master, and execute the orders sincerely when one keeps aloof from the activities of the body. The Lord helps us by giving us directions how to execute in devotion service, how to act in devotion service, and thus advance on the path back to Godhead. He instructs us outwardly in the form of the spiritual master. Therefore, one should not accept the spiritual master as an ordinary human being. The Lord says, Acharya mam vijaniyam na manyeta karahichat. One should not treat the spiritual master as an ordinary human being, for he is a substitute for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, Acharya mam vijaniya na manyet karhichet. So, one should not treat spiritual master as an ordinary person. One should treat the spiritual master as a Supreme Personality of Godhead and never be envious of him or consider him to be an ordinary human being. If we follow the instructions of the spiritual master and execute devotional service to the Lord, we will remain always free from the contamination of bodily and material activities, and our life will be successful. So here the Lord is telling Prithu Maharaj that do not be disturbed by temporary distress or happiness. The distress is of you could not complete the 100th Ashwamedh Yagya. So do not be disturbed. Fully control your mind and senses and try to execute your duty as a king. And here in the shloka, very importantly, it says, try to execute your duty as king in whatever condition of life you may be posted by my arrangement. So it's all Vishnu's arrangement. In whatever condition happening for Maharaj Prithu, it was basically to bring him out, although he was never in the bodily condition of life, but to bring him out of any even tinge of bodily condition of life and put him on the transcendental position. Shreya prajapalanam eva ragyo yat samprahe sukritat shashtamansham hartanyatha hrit punya prajanam arakshita karharo agamati. To give protection to the general mass of people who are citizens of the state is a prescribed occupational duty for a king. By acting in that way, the king in his next life shares 1/6 of the results of the pious activities of the citizens. But a king or executive head of state who simply collects taxes from the citizens but does not give them proper protection as human beings as a result of his own pious activities taken away by the citizens. And in exchange for his not giving protection, he becomes liable to punishment for the impious activities of his subjects. So very important for a king or for a leader, not just for a king of the country, for any leader, whether it's a leader of the household, like a husband is considered the leader of the household, leader of a street, maybe a counselor. In India, counselors are not important, I would say, but there are counselors for a locality, for a community. Then there are mayors or whoever the head of the city is, then the head of the state or head of the district, head of the state, and head of the country. So whosoever is under him, if we are not taking that person on the path of dharma, we are taking his reactions. The question may be raised here that if everyone engaged in spiritual activities to attain salvation and become indifferent to the activities of the material world, then how would things go as they are, things as they are go on? And if things are to go on as they ought to be, how can a head of state be indifferent to such activities? In answer to these questions, the word Shreya, spacious, is used here. The division of activities in society as arranged by the Supreme Personality of Godhead was not blindly or accidentally created as foolish people say. The Brahman must do his duty properly, and the Kshatriya, the Vaishya, and even the Shudras must do the same. And every one of them can achieve the highest perfection of life, liberation from this material bondage. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Sve sve karmani abhirata samsiddhim labhate nara. By executing one's prescribed duties, one can attain the highest perfection. Lord Vishnu advised Maharaj Prithu that a king is not enjoined to give up his kingdom and the responsibility of protecting the prajas or citizens to instead go away to the Himalayas for liberation. So the king is not enjoined to give up his kingdom and the responsibility of protecting the prajas or citizens. And he's not just supposed to give up everything and go to the Himalayas for liberation. No. He can attain liberation while executing his royal duties. Same thing was told by Krishna to Arjuna. Arjuna wanted to give up the battle and go to the forest for begging. But Krishna said, no, you continue, do your duty. That is more important. And Prabhupada says he can attain liberation. And this is what Krishna also said. By executing one's prescribed duties, one can attain the highest perfection. But the duties have to be performed properly, in the right consciousness. The royal duty or the duty of the head of the state is to see that the prajas or the general mass of people are doing their respective duties for spiritual salvation. So everybody has to perform his proper duties. Even the Shudras. It's not that the Shudras cannot attain salvation. They can very much if they're doing their duties properly, but in the right consciousness. A secular state does not necessitate a king or head of state who is indifferent to the activities of the praja. In the modern state, the government has many rules and regulations for conducting the duties of the prajas. But the government neglects to see that the citizens advance in spiritual knowledge. If the government is careless in this matter, the citizens will act whimsically, without any sense of God realization or spiritual life, and thus become entangled in sinful activities. So this is the prime duty of the government, to make sure everybody is doing the prescribed duties, while working in the sense of God realization, or while working on the spiritual path also. An executive head should not be callous to the welfare of the general mass of people while he simply goes on collecting taxes. The king's real duty is to see that the citizens gradually become fully Krishna conscious. Krishna conscious means completely free from all sinful activities. As soon as there is complete eradication of sinful activities in the state, then there will be no more war, pestilence, famine, or natural disturbances. So this is basically now coronavirus pandemic. Yes, people say it's created by China in the lab in Wuhan. Fine, but that could not be created if there were no sinful activities. So it's taking effect, taking a toll all over because of our sinful activities. No other reason. And this is what Prabhupada says, as soon as there is complete eradication of sinful activities, and what are sinful activities? 4 things. Meat eating, alcohol consumption, gambling, and illicit relationships. Then there will be no more war, pestilence, famine, or natural disturbances. Of course, those who are so addicted to all these four activities, then they would say there's no purpose in living if we cannot do any of these or all of these activities. This was actually prevailing during the reign of Maharaj Yudhishthir. If a king or head of the government is able to induce the citizens to become Krishna conscious, then he is worthy to rule over the mass of people. Otherwise, he has no right to levy taxes. If the king looks after the spiritual interests of the citizens, he can levy taxes without difficulties. In this way, both the subjects and the king will be happy during this life, and in the next life, the king will be able to share 1/6 of the pious activities of the citizens. Otherwise, by levying taxes on the sinful citizens, he will have to share the reactions of their sinful activities. So much a king is responsible for. This same principle can be applied to parents and spiritual masters as well. If parents simply give birth to children like cats and dogs but cannot save their children from imminent death, they become responsible for the activities of the animalistic children. Lately, such children are turning into hippies. Similarly, if a spiritual master cannot direct his disciples to become free of sinful activities, he becomes responsible for their sinful acts. These subtle laws of nature are unknown to the present leaders of the society. Since the leaders of society have a poor fund of knowledge and the citizens in general are rogues and thieves, there cannot be an auspicious situation for human society. At the present moment, the whole world is full of such an incompatible combination of state and citizens, and therefore there is constant tension, war, and anxiety as an inevitable result of such social conditions. So every leader, in whatever respect the person is a leader, he is responsible for people under him, responsible for their spiritual growth. So first the leader has to be spiritual as well. So this is what the Lord is giving his instructions to Prithu Maharaj, that he should be a spiritual leader. And then he should lead his people in the right path. But so much of responsibility is given, and Prabhupada nicely says, if parents simply give birth to children like cats and dogs, but cannot save their children from imminent death, of course everybody's going to die, that's for sure. But the parents are supposed to give their children a spiritual guidance, a life, so they can go on the path of deathlessness. They become responsible for the activities of the animalistic children. Animalistic means just like animals. The parents are given birth just like animals, just like cats and dogs. Why cats and dogs? Because they can give birth to too many children at a time. So if we are doing the same thing, what's the difference? Too many animalistic children. Evam dvijagrayanu matanu vrita dharma pradhano anyatamo vitasya akalin grihopayatana drishtasi siddhanu rakta. Lord Vishnu continued, my dear King Prithu, if you continue to protect the citizens according to the instructions of the learned Brahman authorities, as they received by the disciplic succession, by hearing from master to disciple, and if we follow the religious principles laid down by them without attachment to ideas manufactured by mental concoction, then every one of your citizens will be happy and will love you. And very soon you will be able to see such already liberated personalities as the four Kumaras, Sanak, Sanatan, Sanandan, and Sanat Kumar. See, a king is responsible, very, very much responsible, on both spiritual and material levels. And if he does his duties properly, this is what Lord is saying, then you will be able to see such already liberated personalities as the four Kumaras. Means then they will guide you further on the path of bhakti. Lord Vishnu advised King Prithu that everyone should follow the principles of Varnashram Dharma. Then in whatever capacity one remains within this material world, his salvation is guaranteed after death. In this age, however, since the system of Varnashram Dharma is topsy-turvy, it is very difficult to strictly follow all the principles. The only method for becoming perfect in life is to develop Krishna consciousness. As Varnashram Dharma is executed from different positions by different men, so the Krishna consciousness principles can be followed by everyone in every part of the world. So the basic thing is, even if Varnashram Dharma cannot be followed properly, follow Krishna consciousness. There is a specific purpose in mentioning herein that one should follow the Dvijagriyas, the most prominent Brahmins like Parashar and Manu. These great sages have already given us instructions on how to live according to the principles of Varnashram Dharma. Similarly, Sanatana Goswami and Rupa Goswami have given us rules and regulations for becoming pure devotees of the Lord. It is essential, therefore, to follow the instructions of the acharyas in the parampara system, who have received the knowledge as passed down from the spiritual master to disciple. In this way, although living in a material condition of life, we can get out of the entanglement of material contamination without leaving our positions. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu advises, therefore, that one does not have to change his position. One simply has to hear from the proper source, this is called parampara, and follow the principles of practical application in life. Thus one can attain the highest perfection of life, liberation, and go back to Godhead. In other words, the change required is a change in consciousness, not in the body. Unfortunately, in this fallen age, people are concerned with the body, not with the soul. They have invented so many isms pertaining to the body only, not to the soul. So the point Prabhupada is making is one just has to become a devotee of the Lord, Krishna conscious, and follow the instructions given by acharyas. And Prabhupada course, just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu advises, one does not have to change his position. Actually, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to South India, so in one village he stayed, and there was a wonderful, nice Brahman, Kurma Brahman, and he served Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He was a brahmachari. No, I think he was a grihastha. He was a grihastha. So when Mahaprabhu left that village, Kurma Brahman wanted to live with Mahaprabhu. He said, I just want to give up everything. I just want to come with you, chant and dance and just follow you. Mahaprabhu gave him an advice that sthane sthita, you stay wherever you are, but follow the principles. Principles mean chant and preach. And then we will never be separated. So through that instruction, Mahaprabhu has given instruction to all of us. Of course, if Krishna wants, he can make arrangements, proper arrangement for somebody to leave the house and do further whatever preaching and his own practices. Then let Krishna make that arrangement. Let Krishna, and if the desire is really strong in our heart, and if Krishna feels it is right, he can make that arrangement. But otherwise, we can always remain at home and follow the instructions and and still make proper advancement. There's no hindrance to that. In the modern age of democracy, there's so many government representatives voting for legislation. Every day they bring out a new law. But because these laws are only mental concoctions manufactured by the inexperienced, conditioned souls, they cannot give relief to human society. Formerly, although the kings were autocrats, they strictly followed the principles laid down by great sages and saintly persons. There were no mistakes in ruling over the country, and everything went perfectly. The citizens were completely pious, the king levied taxes legitimately, and therefore the situation was very happy. At the present moment, the so-called executive heads are more or less selected from materially ambitious persons who simply look after their own personal interests. They have no knowledge of the Shastras. In other words, the executive heads are fools and rascals in the strict sense of the terms, and the people in general are Shudras. This combination of fools and rascals and Shudras cannot bring about peace and prosperity in this world. Therefore, we find periodic upheavals in society in the forms of battles, communal riots, and fratricidal quarrels. Under these circumstances, not only are the leaders unable to lead the people toward liberation, but they cannot even give them peace of mind. In Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that anyone who lives on concocted ideas without reference to the Shastras never becomes successful and does not obtain happiness or liberation after death. So Prabhupada painted the whole picture, and this Prabhupada wrote these purports in early 1970s, and the situation was same that it is right now. The leaders and the people in general, they all are Shudras. So Shudras are electing Shudras, and that's why there is no peace and prosperity in the world, because they themselves don't know what the scriptures want from us. What are the instructions? What are the injunctions of the scriptures? So that is why there are so many chaos, so many disturbances in the society. Varam chamat kanchan manvendra vrinishvate aham gunashil yantrita naham makharava sulabhastapobhir yogin vayat samchitvarti. My dear king, I am very captivated by your elevated qualities and excellent behavior, and thus I am very favorably inclined towards you. You may therefore ask from me any benediction you like. One who does not possess elevated qualities and behavior cannot possibly achieve my favor simply by performance of sacrifices, severe austerities, or mystic yoga. But I always remain equipoised in the heart of one who is also equipoised in all circumstances. So very, very, very important instruction. One who does not possess elevated qualities and behavior cannot possibly achieve my favor simply by performance of sacrifices. So not the sacrifice itself is not that important more than we develop these qualities and behavior. Sacrifice is important, especially Sankirtan Yajna this day and age is very, very, very important. But if we do Yajna and don't develop these qualities, then what's the use? We can say that, it's mentioned, it continue, carry on with the sacrifices, and slowly, slowly the qualities will develop in you. True, but if we actively, consciously try to develop these qualities, or try to introspect whether I have these qualities or what to whatever extent I have. Try to always see myself. Then it is easier. Actually, all the qualities that will be mentioned, they are the qualities of the soul. They are the original qualities of the soul. There's nothing, no such thing as artificial imposition of the soul. So these qualities are the qualities of the soul, and that these qualities will shine forth once the consciousness is cleansed, is improved, is clarified. But at the same time, we have to see whether we are developing these qualities or not. And if not, this is what Lord Vishnu is saying, I'll not be pleased by your simply performance of sacrifices. So let's see what Prabhupada says. Lord Vishnu was very pleased with Maharaj Prithu's good characteristics and behavior and offered him a benediction. The Lord openly says that performing great sacrifices or undergoing the austerities of mystic yoga practice cannot satisfy him. He is pleased only by elevated character and behavior. But these cannot develop unless one becomes a pure devotee of the Lord. So if one becomes a pure devotee, the qualities will develop. If the qualities develop, one becomes a pure devotee. Well, if the qualities are there and the devotion is there, one becomes a pure devotee. So both go hand in hand, the progress in devotional service and the development of these qualities. They go hand in hand. Anyone who has developed unalloyed, unflinching devotional service unto the Lord develops his original good qualities as spirit soul. Says Prabhupada says, develops his original good qualities as spirit soul. So these are the original, the intrinsic qualities, the innate qualities of the soul. The spirit soul, as part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, has all the good qualities of the Lord. When the spirit soul is contaminated by the material modes of nature, one is considered good or bad with reference to the material qualities. But when one is transcendental to all material qualities, all the good qualities come out. All the good qualities come out. These qualities of a devotee, 26 in number, are listed as follows. So I think we can take a printout of these 26 qualities and paste it on our walls and doors and laptop and click pictures and keep them in the mobile and keep them always in front of us. So these 26 qualities, our first quality is kind to everyone. It doesn't say kind to only my fellow devotees, my devotees in the class, or the people in my office, or people at home. So 21st one is kind to everyone. Got to be kind to everyone, every living entity. Does not quarrel with anyone. not even with wife or husband. Third, fixed in the absolute truth means fixed in one's devotion service to the Supreme Lord. Equal to everyone, not equal to everyone in the terms of equally bad with everyone. No, the first quality is kind to everyone. So equal to everyone, faultless, six, charitable, mild, clean, simple, benevolent, peaceful, completely attached to Krishna. 13, has no material hankering, meek, steady, self-controlled, does not eat more than required. Does not eat more than required. Of course, today is Ekadashi for India, so you're not going to eat more anyway. But I guess this quality does not apply to when we go to Jagannath Puri. So that's different. 18, sane, respectful, humble, grave, compassionate, friendly, poetic, expert, and silent. Silent means, doesn't mean no speaking at all. It means no speaking other than what serves a purpose to serve Krishna. The Lord is satisfied by development of the transcendental qualities of the living entity and not by artificial performance of sacrifices and mystic yoga. In other words, unless one is fully qualified to become a pure devotee of the Lord, one cannot expect to be liberated from material entanglement. So poetic doesn't mean we do shero shairi. Poetic means, actually poetic means one who has knowledge of the scriptures and who can present the scriptures properly. But again, wonderful qualities. These are our original qualities. And how much we have forgotten. That's amazing. And we say, oh, it's natural to be to fight with people, fight for our rights, fight for our position, or this or that. But Krishna says, does not quarrel with anyone. And this is quality for this day and age, which is the day and age of hypocrisy and quarrel. Kali Yuga means quarrel and hypocrisy. In this day and age, to develop this quality, it sounds like an impossible thing to do. But no, it is possible. Text 17. Maitre vacha saitam loka guruna vishwaksenin vishwajita anushasita adesham shirasa jagrihe hare. The great Saint Maitreya continued, my dear Vidura, in this way Maharaj Prithu, the conqueror of the entire world, accepted the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead on his head. One should accept the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead by bowing down to the lotus feet of the Lord. This means that anything spoken by the Personality of Godhead should be taken as it is, with great care and attention and with great respect. It is not our business to amend the words of the Supreme Personality of Godhead or make additions or alterations as it has become a custom for so many so-called scholars and swamis and comment on the words of Bhagavad Gita. Here the practical example of how to accept the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is shown by Prithu Maharaj. This is the way to receive knowledge through the parampara system. Means he bowed down to the Supreme Lord. He accepted the instructions of the Supreme Lord on his head. Means accepting the instructions as they are. No additions, no subtraction, no editing, no deletion, no multiplication, no division, nothing. As it is. And that's why Prabhupada gave us the instructions as they are in his commentary on Bhagavad Gita. And it's not like We should try to interpret in our own way what Krishna wants to say. And that is why the parampara system is important. So we don't manufacture our own system or try to understand our own way. Our realizations could be wrong. We are conditioned souls. And we have a tendency to cheat others. We have imperfect senses. We are illusioned. So, but when the knowledge comes in the parampara system and coming from the Supreme Personality of Godhead through self-realized acharyas in the parampara, in the disciplic succession, then there is no need of or no meaning to mentally speculate over anything or interpret the words of Krishna in our way. Excuse me, Radhe. Just like Mayavadis, when Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, and clearly says, and he says this twice, Man mana bhav mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. It's so simple instruction. Mam, it says mam mana, or man mana bhav, mad bhakto. Means give your mind to me, think of me, become my devotee, Madhyaji mam namaskuru, worship me, pay obeisances unto me. He's clearly saying, do it to me. And what will happen? You will come back to me. Now, when the Mayavadis, they interpret, they say, no, it's not to Krishna that we have to surrender, it's to eternal, unborn within Krishna that we have to surrender. But this is not what Krishna is saying. If I say, if you invite me to your house and I say, Prabhu, give me a glass of water, I'm thirsty. Oh, it's not Vidur Priya Prabhu, we have to give water to it. It's the unborn, eternal within him that he is asking for water. What? I'm asking for water. I'm thirsty. So simple as that. Just give me water. This is what Krishna is saying simply. Man mana bhav mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskar. If you do this, you'll come back to me. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhaktya priyachati. And who offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, a fruit, a little water. But people, they misinterpret all this. They try to squeeze their own incomplete, contaminated understanding in the words of Krishna. And then they say, oh, Krishna said this in Bhagavad Gita and Krishna said that in Bhagavad Gita. They're using Krishna's shoulder to shoot their own ulterior motives or interpretation into the hearts of others. And that's why it creates a whole mess. The purpose of Bhagavad Gita, purpose of studying Bhagavad Gita is to become a devotee of Krishna. It's clear, very much clear from Bhagavad Gita. But those, before Prabhupada wrote his commentary on Bhagavad Gita, there were like 700 more commentaries available all over the world. So apart from Vaishnava commentaries written by previous acharyas, the other commentaries did not even make a single person a devotee, a single person surrendered to Krishna. It did not, because the writer himself was not surrendered. So how is his writings going to make anybody else surrender? But they completely miss the real purpose, the real meaning of Krishna's words. And why? Because they don't come in parampara system. They did not accept the words or instructions of Krishna on their heads. So they keep on giving so many mundane interpretations. Bhagavad Gita for management, Bhagavad Gita for engineers, Bhagavad Gita for doctors, Bhagavad Gita for this or that. That's not the purpose of Bhagavad Gita. Anyway, this is the meaning of Maharaj Prithu accepting the instructions. Sprishantam padyo premna, vriditam svena karmana, shatkritam parishvatya, vidvesham vasasarjaha. As King Indra was standing by, he became ashamed of his own activities and fell down before King Prithu to touch his lotus feet. But Prithu Maharaj immediately embraced him in great ecstasy and gave up all envy against him for his having stolen the horse meant for the sacrifice. See the dealing between devotees? Wonderful dealings. There are many cases in which a person becomes an offender to the lotus feet of a Vaishnava and later becomes repentant. Here also we find that although the king of heaven, Indra, was so powerful that he accompanied Lord Vishnu, he felt himself a great offender by stealing Prithu Maharaj's horse that was meant for sacrifice. An offender at the lotus feet of a Vaishnava is never excused by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There are many instances illustrating this fact. Ambarish Maharaj was offended by Durvasa Muni, a great sage and mystic yogi. And Durvasa also had to fall down at the lotus feet of Ambarish Maharaj. So this story will come later about Ambarish Maharaj and Durvasa Muni. That I think it's in the 9th canto. So we know Durvasa Muni, he is an expansion of Lord Shiva. And he also loses his temper very easily. So just like Indra is known for his different acts, which are doesn't look like very conducive for devotion service, Durvasa Muni is also known for this, his losing his temper. But at the same time, he's a great devotee of Krishna, and there's so many pastimes with Krishna and with gopis, with Srimati Radharani of Durvasa Muni. So Durvasa Muni losing his temper is not his original or intrinsic constitutional position. That is, he does this in the end because he's an expansion of Lord Shiva, he's in contact with the mode of ignorance. So sometimes he ends up losing his temper. But in the end, it all works out either in the favor of the devotee or in glorification of the Lord. Indra decided to fall down at the lotus feet of King Prithu, but the king was so magnanimous a Vaishnava that he did not want Maharaj Indra to fall down at his feet. Instead, King Prithu immediately picked him up and embraced him, and both of them forgot all the past incidents. Both King Indra and Maharaj Prithu were envious and angry with each other, but since both of them were Vaishnavas, so servants of Lord Vishnu, it was their duty to adjust the cause of their envy. This is also a first-class example of cooperative behavior between Vaishnavas. In the present days, however, because people are not Vaishnavas, they fight perpetually amongst one another and are vanquished without finishing the mission of human life. There is a great need to propagate the Krishna consciousness movement in the world, so that even though people sometimes become angry and malicious towards one another, because of their being Krishna conscious, such rivalry, competition, and envy can be adjusted without difficulty. So there is a great need to propagate Krishna consciousness movement because we don't want people to live the life of enmity and hatred. In fact, because somebody does something against me or not according to my wishes, he or she does something, then I become angry at that person. And the problem with the anger is it's so deep rooted that the person I'm angry with, I'll think of that person more than if I love somebody else. This anger just takes over, completely takes over. In this angry state, a person who's angry, he burns day and night in that anger. It's so devastating that he even forgets his real purpose of life. So this anger could be because of anything. Basically, it's because of if my desires are not fulfilled, then I become angry. At a person or at Krishna also, people become angry. But this anger, krodhat bhavati sammoha, sammohat smriti brinshad, buddhi nashat pranashyati. So from krodha, everything else starts. Of course, it starts with kama to begin with, but kama, if not fulfilled, becomes krodha, anger. And this anger could be because my desires are not fulfilled, or because somebody else did something against me, said something against me, did something against me, spoke or thought of something against me. And basically, it all is because my desires are not fulfilled. Because of that person, I become angry. And this anger remains. Sometimes it is passed down from generations after generations. The original people who committed the crime are already dead and gone, and maybe they're born in this family. But the anger remains in the heart of people. And this anger is very, very strong, much stronger than if somebody has love for somebody else. And this anger, what it does, it burns one inside. Before I can do any harm to anybody else, it is burning me, it's harming me from inside. So what's the point? I'm killing myself first. I'm hurting myself first before I do any harm to anybody else. And scriptures say something else. If anything happens to me, according to my wishes or against my wishes, it's all orchestrated by Krishna. Without his sanction, nothing can happen. So if he has sanctioned something against me, and he's my well-wisher, so there could be only two reasons. One is it could be my karma coming back to me, or it is specially organized, orchestrated by Krishna for my purification. So in either case, I cannot be angry at the person who's giving me my reaction. So, and by becoming angry and by remaining angry, actually, as I said, we hurt ourselves more than anybody else. And this hurt can be in form of a disease, a chronic disease. In fact, cancer is because of this anger. And in pranic healing, it is said because of this red prana in our body, excessive red prana, dirty red prana. And that is because of anger. So we can be hurting ourselves physically, mentally, emotionally, and definitely spiritually. And financially also. What's the point in getting angry? And we saw in the qualities, person should be very kind to everyone, should not quarrel with anybody, should be grave, silent. So the best thing to do, of course, it's easy to say, don't get angry at anybody. It's easy to say, but we get angry. So best thing to do before we sleep at night, before we go to bed, just in our mind, sit down for 1 minute or so. Forgive everybody who we have dealt with today in a wrong way. Everybody. And ask for forgiveness. First ask for forgiveness and then forgive everybody and cut the cords. Cut any karmic cords that I want to live peacefully, I want to make special spiritual progress. I'm begging for forgiveness. Just imagine they're standing in front of you and fold your hands and ask for forgiveness. I did this, I shouldn't have done that, I said this, I thought of this, and I shouldn't have done that. It's very powerful. And then you say, if I was hurt, so I forgive you also. And cut the cords. Ultimately, we are responsible for ourselves, our growth. And by keeping anger inside, we cannot make progress. We cannot. And this is where Lord Vishnu himself appeared and told Prithu Maharaj. And through Prithu Maharaj, and obviously Indra got the message, and through Indra, now we all should get the message. No anger. Anger is only one letter away from danger. It's very dangerous. Very, very dangerous. So wonderful qualities that we studied today, and that we should do the introspection. How much I'm developing, these qualities. And as I mentioned in that message, astrologically, very auspicious day today, and it is Ekadashi also. So you all should chant extra rounds, especially during that time period, whatever that astrologer was saying. So we can all benefit spiritually. Okay. Thank you all very much. See anybody has any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Sometimes, like listening to these chapters shakes you, like how much wrong we are doing, like how where we are standing as a human
I
being,
know.
or seriously. Like I remember in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna said, like if you are properly situated, you will not be agitated by hearing uh, these verses and all. But then I was not able to understand it. But when going through these classes and all, I understand what does he mean. We are continuously being agitated by understanding like how wrong we are.
Yeah, but at the same time, we are reading, we are listening, so this will definitely have effect. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya is definitely going to have effect. But yes, good observation.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Danvat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, one silly question though. How do we become a good Sudra then, Prabhuji? In fact, we heard about it, read about it, that you kind of stay in your kind of ashram and you kind of do your religious duty. So we all are Sudras, still accepted. But how to become a good Sudra then? One is become always Krishna conscious. That is true. But we do kind of so many work. One to manage the household and then to keep ourselves engaged. So how do we become a good Sudra, Prabhuji?
So the duties of Shudras are paricharyatmakam karma, means to to serve all the other three ashrams. So we do our services properly.
But
But
in fact,
yeah,
one
go ahead.
what?
You go ahead.
No, sorry, Prabhuji, you go ahead.
But the thing is, yes, in Kali Yuga, everybody is a Shudra by qualities. But now we are chanting, following some principles of devotional service. So whether we call ourselves Shudra or Vaishya or Brahman or Kshatriya, we are Vaishnavas. We are devotees. We're trying to be devotees, but we are devotees. On certain extent, we are devotees. So just try to be better devotee. Don't consider yourself as Shudra because in Devi Varnashram system, we can do work of everybody. The Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Devotees can do anything and everything. There's no problem.
And how to do it perfectly or properly, at least, Prabhuji, so that we stay on the path of devotion.
Well, doing it properly, with determination, without having any, um, because that verse, Trinadapi Shunichena Taroriva Sahishnana, that's our backbone of everything that we do.
Hmm.
Amanina Manadena
Yes,
Kirtanya
Prabhuji.
Yadahare.
True, Prabhuji. Amazing verses today, but only if we can kind of adhere to it. It's good to read, good to understand, but adhering at times out of that impulse, it becomes so difficult. Maybe out of that sanskaras that we have.
But all the sanskaras are external actually. It's not nothing to do with the soul. See, I mean, actually, these qualities are our qualities. They should be very easy to follow, but we have made it difficult. That's what Krishna's Maya is very strong.
True, Prabhuji.
We
True,
say, oh,
Prabhuji.
to get angry is natural. To get envious of others is natural. It's not natural. Natural is this, kind to everyone. That is natural. But we have made the other things as natural.
Yes, Prabhuji. So true. In fact, being kind to us, लगता है it's a special character that we'll have to learn after unlearning so many stuff. Very true. But we are fortunate, Prabhuji explained to us so nicely. Now it's up to us
Uh,
only pray to Lord that kind of give us strength to kind of stick to it.
That's what we are thankful that Prabhupada has given us all these wonderful gems that we can study and relate to.
True, Prabhuji. Without that तो पता ही नहीं था कुछ आधा इतना तो पता ही नहीं था.
हाँ कुछ भी नहीं पता था.
Amazing how much Prabhupada has done for us. I think we cannot pay that in numerous lifetimes.
Yep.
And thank you so much. You explained to us so nicely. ना ऐसा जैसे हम लोग अपने पढ़ लेते हैं भागवतम तो लग मतलब honestly I know that's an अपराध again. We read करते हैं और ठीक से दिमाग में नहीं बैठता. But the way you explain, then थोड़ा सा एटलीस्ट थोड़ा फर्क पड़ता है. अदरवाइज अपने पढ़ने से तो पढ़ लिया सारा कुछ हो गया. But when we kind of discuss with you, it appears so fresh, so new. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Yeah, I'm trying. So I guess we can stop here. You all have a wonderful and safe day. Hare Krishna. Jai
Hare
Srila
Krishna.
Prabhupada.
Jai
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
Srila
much,
Prabhupada.
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Jai Shri
Thank you.
Prabhupada.
Jai Srila
Thank you,
Prabhupada.
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Jai Shri Prabhupada.